Hey, welcome to Sports Close-Up. We have a little special feature here. My old co-host and broadcast partner, Mike Fiorillo, came back to join us, so we're just going to sit around and talk about some memories and stuff. And I have Trevor Berryhill, which is his son-in-law, who's an AD down in Florida. And then we have John Matillo, the great new co-host.
Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome, bud. Mike, glad to have you back. I mean, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Glad to be back. I've watched the show with John and Ed. You guys are doing a great job. So it's carrying on. It started many years ago. Jack Christie had the show for a while, and I know Gary Clark, the late great Gary Clark. I miss Gary all the time. He did a great job with the show. He brought me on, and great history with the show, guys.
Yes.
That's good. So, how does it feel to be back in the area? You haven't been back here for 3 years.
Yeah, it feels good.
You've been gone that long.
3 years, yeah.
Wow.
3 years this October will be, and we enjoy living in Florida. We get to see our grandkids, and we get to go to their activities. And they're getting, we have one that's 11 all the way down to 1 year old. We have 5 of them, and it's fun. It's fun being down there. We get to see Trevor and Christy all the time, and I see my daughter Karen with her kids. So it's really good.
So what's the difference with high school sports down there compared to up here?
The athletic ability down there is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jeez. Trevor, you're a high school athletic director, huh?
Yes, sir.
And you're the only high school that has blue turf. Or one of them.
Yeah. Yes, we got blue turf. There's one other school that has turf like ours, but it's a little bit darker.
That's
Ours
good.
is royal. Can't miss it right off the highway.
You can't miss it.
Did you have to get permission from Boise State to do
We
that?
did, yeah. So it was an interesting process when I was meeting with the different turf companies. I told them all that we wanted to have colored turf. We wanted the blue. And all 3 of them were said, you're going to have to contact Boise State and get permission. So I was like, all right. So I called up to their athletic department, and they put me in touch with their copyright office. And they sent me this questionnaire. Really, they think, when you think of blue turf, you think of Boise State. When you hear Just Do It, you think of Nike. So they want everybody to go through them. They don't want any other colleges to have the colored turf.
That's
so
good.
We told them that colleges don't play at our field, and so they gave us the green light. I actually have a letter from them framed in my office. That was pretty cool.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mike. What are some of the memories? I mean, didn't you just say, let me back up a little bit. Didn't you say when you were moving down there, you said that you were going to talk to your son-in-law, say, hey, I want to broadcast the game? I'd probably hear you all the way up here from down there broadcasting.
I was thinking of that, but now I'm just retired, being a grandfather, and I work at a golf course a couple days a week, a private golf course, which is really a lot of fun. I get to play there for free. So
Is that the one I golfed at with you?
It's the one you golfed at Legacy, yes, in Longwood, Lake Mary area. That's why we're living in Lake Mary, Sanford area. So it's been a lot of fun, like I said, but I have a lot of memories. It's just unbelievable. I look back at Meadville sports. John and I were talking about some just being a fan, or when I was a teacher or as an administrator. It's growing up in this area at that time, John, you were growing up. I was a teacher, but the Meadville sports were so strong.
We always had a great basketball tradition.
Always.
It was one of the best, going all the way back to the 50s. With John Joyce, the coach, in the 60s with Norm Sundstrom, and then Jack Christie in the 70s took his team led by Biff Kress and Jeff Davern, to the state semifinals, and then along came Coach Price with the Slammin' Dogs, the greatest high school basketball team in District 10, in my opinion, that ever was.
Well, you think back, we were talking about this before, Ed, and you were a youngster back then. Meadville High School had season basketball tickets sold.
You could get a seat in
If you didn't get there by halftime in a JV game, you were not getting in the gym.
Yep.
Right, John?
Yeah, we took over the visitors' gym. It was just
It was like the movie Hoosiers.
Yes, it
Cars
was.
were just going down to wherever the game was. Oil City, Warren, didn't matter how far the game was.
Yeah.
The people in Meadville supported those teams. It was unbelievable. So, it was a great environment for me and my wife Cindy to raise our 2 daughters in, because everybody was just so friendly. And everybody.
Well, we had
Tool and Die was going good too, and that's
Tool
where
and Die was
a
going-
lot of our,
Oh, yeah.
we had
Right.
more people.
Well, you know what you
population.
had back then, John? You can attest to this, a strong middle class.
Yeah, I graduated in 1975 from Meadville with over 400 kids. Now we're graduating barely over
Right.
200. So obviously,
Well,
it's changed.
Because mine was almost 400
It's-
back in 90.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, because I remember in '75 I started my teaching career at the junior high on the Jim Lascola.
boy.
And I remember they had upstairs and downstairs, the two different stairs. You had to go down and up because there's so many kids in that
Oh,
building.
that place was something at junior high. I came from the Catholic school to go over to the junior
Yeah.
high, and you walked in that gym, and there's a rope hanging down there, and the gym teacher says, "Climb the rope." I go, "What? Climb that rope?"
Bernie Graham.
They have a mat about this high underneath it. I said, "What happens if I fall? You die."
Probably Mr. Bernie Graham.
Yeah,
was the
Mr.
first
Graham.
head
He used to be
teacher.
able to shoot the basket through the
Yeah.
rafters.
And then they had
Full
Phil
court.
Masco.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a weird gym because you had the upper, you could sit
Yeah.
up top.
It was a great place to play battle ball.
Yeah.
You know, the big fat kid with the glasses, he always got whacked first in the corner.
That's when they really played it back.
Oh, yeah. You're not, they don't even
Get
mention
welts
battle
and
ball anymore.
No.
But talking about the slamming dogs, at that time, we had the largest crowd ever in the Erie Civic Center, over 6,000 people. And
And then Mr. Piro over there hit that.
greatest shot heard around Meadville, that's for sure.
It was
exciting.
crazy when he hit that shot because the fans just went down. It
Onto
was
the field.
unbelievable. And Coach Price was under the pile of the players and he almost passed out. Because everybody was on top of the pile and he was on the bottom looking for his glasses. Mike Piro just stated to us that he was like eyeball with him. He was on the bottom of the pile.
And we lost the state championship game by
Oh,
1
we got
point.
that, yeah, because we got that technical,
For hanging on the rim.
which he done all year long. It was
And
never
don't you
called.
think if the 3-point was in back, they
Well,
would've
the next
tied.
year,
It yeah.
they started a 3-point the next year.
Who was
after
on
that.
Because didn't
team.
Mike Burnett make that when we
Billy
lost by
Owens.
one?
Yeah, Billy
Didn't-
Owens.
Didn't Burnett make that shot? From
Yeah,
the-
yeah,
It would have
would've
been a 3-point line, but it was only two.
Would have tied the
Could have
game.
tied.
But,
But you got Billy Owens, who just went on to
well,
have a
but,
great career.
but he was gonna win 4 state championships. That was in the cards, right, Mike?
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, can't say they cheated, but I will. I'm a homer.
I mean, look how many great athletes we did have come out of Meadville, though.
Well, I will tell you who, in my opinion, the greatest athlete in the history of District 10 was Journey Brown.
No question.
Anybody ever wants to debate that, please, because
I agree with you.
the
I mean,
kid has all the rushing records. Well, maybe that kid in Wales City now, but he runs the ball every play. But Journey was magical. He was not only the state 100-yard meter, he's the record.
Correct.
Plus, people forget he was the integral part of a team that was the state runner-up in basketball.
Yep.
Well, he could just jump through the gym when he would jump.
And a great
And
young
oh.
man.
Oh,
Just a
yeah.
great young man.
Now he's doing stuff with NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, think about his college career. He played at Penn State. When you think of their running backs, Lenny Moore, Franco Harris,
Think about his last
Miles
game.
Sanders.
Wasn't he
he's
the
still got
MVP?
Quan
Barkley.
Barkley, Kajana Carter.
Wasn't he the MVP of the Cotton Bowl? His last
That's right.
game he ever played.
That's
for Penn
right.
State.
MVP of
So
the
his
Cotton
career
Bowl.
was going, and then the unfortunate physical thing that he couldn't play anymore. But there's no doubt, John, and I know you agree with this, and I tell people this, if he didn't have that ailment, he'd be in the NFL.
Oh, I have no question about it. I think he'd have been a high draft pick, middle round or
Yeah.
whatever. But, you know, look at Miles Sanders and
Right.
Quan Barkley. Those were his proteges. He followed after
Now
that.
you can go back and look at Jack Stevens and Amani Foster, what they're doing. Amani getting ready for maybe some type of pro, whether it's over in Europe or not. And Jack Stevens is actually training them.
Well, you think of Armani Foster was the most valuable player in the PSAC, which is probably one of the top Division II basketball conferences in the country. And he was the most valuable player. He was a special
And then
basketball
he goes to
player.
Buffalo for his 5th year.
Yeah.
So I mean, he did a lot of great things.
His team, he played with some really good with LaShawn Lindsay, who's probably one of the most unselfish, great basketball players. He's all-time leading scorer in Meadville.
Yeah.
And people forget too, maybe they don't forget, if Sim Wolford wouldn't have gone and played Strong Vincent, he stayed in Meadville for all 4 years because he was an integral part of that team.
He was.
He was a
Yeah.
tough player.
He played in Meadville last year.
Yes.
Came back his last year.
We
to
won
play.
District 10 and we
Yeah.
also won, got
Yeah.
to the state finals.
You know, some of the memories I have though is those years when prep, we knocked them out, like 2 years.
Mark McElhaney beat Cathedral Prep 11 straight times.
And that's why that.
Probably cost a guy his job.
That's right,
did,
exactly,
yeah.
right? And the last year we beat them, Prep was like, had lost 2 games and
Yeah.
nobody thought we'd win that game.
Yes.
Remember John was
Yeah.
at Edinburgh? Nobody
Yeah.
gave us, and we did.
Yeah.
And I was doing the
Yeah, you
camera
were
on the floor.
floor.
Yeah.
That's where her husband made the
Yep.
shot at the
Yeah,
buzzer, or
yeah.
whatever it was, with the Butler.
The Butler. Butler was a good player.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Davion Butler. He was good. You know, we talk about these sports and, Trevor, the AD of Masters Academy in Florida and you know, you're a good athlete yourself down in the state of Florida. as an AD in Florida, why don't you tell people that live around here, like, how everything is pushed up? Like, you start football early, you start basketball earlier.
Yeah, so in Florida we have spring football. So basically full pads and a game.
Okay.
So pretty much football, the spring football game was what predicates the entire calendar, right? So you start with those dates and then you back everything up. So like our football team right now is doing off-season training. They go Monday through Thursday, a couple hours. They do it in the weight room, or they're doing some 7-on-7 stuff. We actually host a little 7-on-7 league. It's about 8 schools in the area that come over and play some games. But yeah, our fall sports start July 31st. We start school August 10th, so they're there a little bit before school starts to get the practices in, and then our first football game is I think August 18th. So yeah, our season starts a little bit earlier, but the weather's a little bit different in Florida as well.
Yeah.
Well, like this is like winter right now.
It's
here
a
in-
haven for recruiters too, isn't it?
Yeah, the talent is different. We were talking on the golf course today about just I'm a baseball guy, so we're talking about baseball, and I've coached a lot of great players out of the state of Pennsylvania. There's just maybe like 10 versus back home there's 50 in my county or more. So just Major League Baseball draft the last
Different
couple
when you
days.
can play outside all the time.
Yeah.
too, instead of being stuck
We
in
start
a gym.
baseball in May, and
Yeah. Well, I
June
went
it's
to
over.
Yeah, I went to college in South Carolina, and I remember when we came back from Christmas break, like we're getting out into the field, and it's like 40 degrees outside, and I'm like, what are we doing out here? It's freezing. We had gym workouts and all that stuff, and so there's the guys that can play sports that are like baseball that really you have a huge advantage to be down in the South.
Right.
That come out of the North and that are really, really good players. They've definitely put in a lot of work. I remember when I was at USC Upstate playing, we'd always have teams from the North come down to play us the first weekend, and it was like, the pitchers, we were loving it because those guys, they couldn't
Batting
hit.
practice.
Those guys couldn't hit at all because they've been hitting the gym
Right.
and seen sliders and seen changeups. So I love pitching against Bentley and some of those schools like that. But yeah, it's sports are different down there. I will say that I've been in a couple different states, whether it's South Carolina or Tennessee or Florida, but football's king everywhere. Doesn't matter. Football's king.
Yeah, so the people, that's a revenue generator
Yeah.
also too, right?
Yeah, and everybody's budgets are different, right? But you look at college football; it's the king
Yeah.
there, and it just trickles downhill.
Yeah, they pay for everything. Penn State football pays for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, other
So
the
like back
rest of it's
home,
pretty
we
profitable,
live down the street from UCF, right? They're making this big move into the Big 12, and so I got some friends that are involved in the athletic department, and they're telling me about the money that they get year 1 versus year 3. So like they're getting like $15 million of the Big 12 money this year, and then it goes like 26, and then it goes to 60.
Yeah, that'll make a
Right?
big difference.
When you're getting
won't it?
60 million just to start from the
Right.
conference, that's huge.
Right.
That's huge, and the different.
Yeah, it's just like you have USC and UCLA's going to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
Imagine being on their baseball teams, though. Hey, we're going to Michigan to play baseball.
Yeah.
It'd be freezing out there
Yeah.
in Michigan.
I mean, how big is wrestling down there? Like, it's big.
Wrestling's
here.
huge. Wrestling's huge. So we had, so my school, just to tell you a little bit about it, we're a preschool through 12th grade. We got 1,200 kids total, all on the same campus. So we only have like 350 in our high school. And so this is going into my 6th year. We actually had to drop wrestling this year because we didn't have enough kids and we had no place for them to wrestle. We'd been renting facilities. We have 1 gym on our campus. Basketball's pretty big at my school. We have 7 basketball teams. And so there's nowhere.
Basketball's pretty big at your school. Where's your team going this year in December?
Our basketball team's going to the Iolani Classic in Hawaii.
Hawaii.
which
We
is
went to
pretty-
Ohio on our Christmas tour, remember?
So yeah, pretty.
Steubenville, wasn't it? Down there, weird West Virginia.
Right,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's different down there. It's different, but it's fun. And at our school, like I said, we only have 350 kids in our high school. There's 7 classifications in the state of Florida, so we're like 3A. 7A is the biggest, but
Do they differentiate between private and
No.
public? No.
no, but it's all based on your total
Enrollment.
enrollment. So pretty much 3A, 2A, and 1A are all private schools. You have a couple bigger private schools like Bishop Moore's a powerhouse in Orlando, St. Thomas Aquinas down in South Florida.
Yeah,
American
their
Heritage.
games were on ESPN last year. A couple
Yeah.
football games they were on.
Yeah, so I just, I think that you're able to do more often down in Florida. Obviously, I actually almost made a joke to you where the news was on over here in the restaurant and it said the sun will be out for another couple hours. That was one of the funniest things when I first came up to Meadville to meet Mike and Cindy. We were staying at their house and Cindy was at the computer and she had this eureka moment and it like kind of freaked me out. I was like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "They said the sun's going to be out from 12 to 2 today." And I'm like, "The sun's out every single day where I'm from, you know." So.
See, they talk about climate change, and I say, come to Meadville. We have climate change.
We might have all 4 seasons in one day.
One day.
That's good.
It could be
That's true.
60, and the next day it's 20,
That's
right?
very true.
It's the
Yeah.
truth.
What about if a kid, 8th grade is really good, they can play on a varsity sport team, right, in Florida?
At the private schools.
The private schools.
So we don't have to count them in our enrollment. There's a big push from some public
Those
school
private schools always have advantage.
I still feel that.
Right, Ed? Now you're
Yes,
coaching in a private school.
Hey, First Prep
You're
isn't
turning
that
on.
bad.
You're turning on Meadville, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, I move away, but I didn't coach at a different school.
But no, I mean, I think the private schools around this area should play against private schools, in my opinion.
Well, the problem is
Because-
there's not enough.
That's not
And
enough.
there's not
Well, look what
enough.
happened to Meadville football last year. I mean, you got that private school. Yes, they had less enrollment than we did, but it was a close
Was that in
game.
the playoffs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
well, it was close for a while.
It
Yeah,
was.
It was
Who'd they
Allentown Central Catholic, I
Yeah.
believe it
Oh,
was. I mean,
wow.
it was just like playing Cathedral
Yeah,
Prep. I mean,
yeah.
But then we go down to the, for, what was it, the states for basketball.
we played that team.
We
from
had
Philadelphia.
what, 500-600 people. They had 50.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like they're not even. Why compete at
Well,
that
that year
level?
they
It
had,
should be.
they
It should
had,
be.
3 Division I players that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
And the one dude was like, what, 7 foot tall?
You're talking about the last year we went to states?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what's great about that run though, because that was an unexpected run.
Yeah.
Us getting that far. That was cool that year through the playoffs, if you remember. I mean, there were so many games. We beat that team at Slippery Rock. who was
Mars.
low-
It was
yeah.
Mars. They had a kid that went to Notre
Yes,
Dame.
yes. Yes.
Carmody was
That's
his
right,
name.
Carmody, yes. And then we went, and won that next game. I'm trying to think where it
It
was.
was over in, it was at Altoona. We beat
Yeah.
Northeastern was the
And they
school.
was-
And Armani got in foul trouble early in the game.
That's right.
And Sim took over and
Sim
ran
took
the
over.
show.
But watching Sim and Amani go at it, then playoff run,
Yeah.
and
That
then
was
you had
great.
LaShawn.
That was a great
Oh.
backcourt. But unexpectedly, we kept winning those games, which was great because it brought the whole town together again. Everybody was excited. That's what Meadville Sports always has done, though, John, as you know, and Ed, you know, is bring the town together.
Yeah.
It really has, and we're lucky too. We talked about this on other shows. Meadville's had some great coaches,
Oh, yeah.
What
that
about
are
even
also
wrestling?
great
Dick
people.
Lumley, who's
Dick
actually
Lumley's
still
phenomenal.
doing good.
Phenomenal coach.
You still had what, Norm Price,
Yep.
Jamie Plunkett, who
Well,
just
you know,
retired, I
talk about-
think.
Talk about basketball. You had Norm Sundstrom, who was phenomenal, right? You had Joyce.
I'll tell you one
Joyce
thing
went
about
to
Norm
Clarion, I
Sundstrom,
think.
though, that people don't realize. He never won a playoff game outside District 10.
Is that right?
It's true.
John Joyce went to Clarion.
And
right after
John
Meadville.
Joy.
John Joy. Then
Yeah,
went to
he
Clarion.
lost. His nemesis was Farrell. He couldn't beat Farrell. They won they got like 7 or 8 high school championships.
And
He
then
couldn't
Mr.
beat
Norm
them.
Price came to Meadville. One of the greatest things Norm did, though, is when he went to Heidi Cooper and started recruiting. He did, right, John? I mean, not recruiting in a nice way. Got these kids out
To
and,
know him and stuff.
and he went to the town and said, let's put lights on that thing, let the kids
He
play.
called me up one time and he said, I got a bunch of these kids down there going to play in the Y League and I need somebody to be their coach. I said, sure, I'll go down, I'll coach them. So I had Michael Burnett, Michael Piro, Donald Burnett, Joey Gray. We were playing these county league schools. No offense to the county. And these guys were like sophomores, and I was like the white shadow. Go out and run up and down the court. We're beating the Y was a small court.
Yeah, yeah.
We were scoring 100 points, and we're just destroying these teams. And that was my best coaching. I never lost a game. Not when I coached at Seton, when I never won a game. So,
Yeah, and then, you know, you had some great players in the past. You know, one that was sold real estate for a long time here, Biff Crest.
oh,
was a heck
Biff,
of a
Biff,
player
Biff
back
owned the
in day.
baseline, never missed
Yeah.
free throws. He was only 6'2". He
Yeah.
got every rebound that came his way. And they were special. He played with Tommy Pyle, who was was a great athlete in Meadville, and Jeff Davern, who played at Mercyhurst College basketball.
Yeah.
They were special team. Chuck Jones was the point guard, and Chuck has a great coaching career at Meadville, but
Yes.
just not basketball, but cross country and track.
Cross country, phenomenal.
Yeah,
Meadville
and-
girls,
and he's a
Meadville
good
girls and
man,
boys
too.
cross country under his coaching were phenomenal.
And more importantly, he was a good man.
So that's
Chuck's
what
a
I
good
mean.
man.
A lot of the Meadville coaches, they just didn't teach the sport. Like Ken Achenbach, first class individual.
Yeah.
It's took over that Meadville football program, brought it up from the ashes, you know, and ran a great program. You know,
Just like Ray Collins did. He did
Ray
the same
Collins,
thing
the
after
same
it
thing.
was going
And
down.
these are people, Rich, former state cop. So the parents felt secure that these guys were teaching values to the kids, not just winning and losing
Right.
games. And that's the thing that, you know, frustrated me sometimes. You know, Meadville fans, some of them never realized how lucky we were to have those people.
Well,
Maybe we didn't pass a lot, or maybe we didn't do this a lot, but they were great people.
Well, you know, it's interesting to talk about that. My son was a quarterback, and they never won a game, but they played for Coach Pendolino.
Yeah, Coach Pike.
And he was above. He was just a wonderful
Yeah.
man. He was good to the kids.
Great teacher too.
Yes, and he was loyal. He never threw the kids under the bus. You never heard him interview. He goes, well, Joe Matillo fumbled 3 times today, and he threw 2 interceptions. He never blamed the kids, and he
Yeah.
took a lot of heat for not winning a game. But you know how parents are guilty as it's always somebody else's fault. You know, gotta
Well,
look in
you
the
should
mirror.
hear on how much we would sit up there and we're calling the games on how bad they would badmouth if they didn't make a first down or
Yeah, why did you call that play?
right. And sometimes it is different. That's why I don't like when you told
You
me
don't
about
wanna coach
coaching
in
here.
Meadville.
Right, just because of the fact when the more people you know, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
It really does. I would rather go outside like Mercyhurst Prep and coach. Because I don't know anybody up there, and I don't have to really worry about listening to the birds chirp.
It really opened my eyes is when I got to broadcast the games, and I'd go to Coach Collins, let me go do anything I wanted. So I go to practices and meetings. Same with Coach McElhaney. And the amount of time they put in with these
Oh,
kids,
yeah.
and told them stuff that sometimes, like you said, John, the kids didn't execute it, but they were told to execute it. But you know, kids are kids; they're going to make mistakes.
I
Right.
managed American Legion baseball for 6 years, and
Yeah.
I wasn't a coach. I was a manager. You're right. You're a manager in baseball.
Right.
You're not the coach.
Right.
But my third base coach was Joe Ferguson, and he just steals with whatever we call him. Kids went through, and I just would shake my head. He goes, "I gave him the sign, coach." Yeah, I know, Joe. They don't. It's just, but you don't throw them under the bus. But they're just kids. They're going to make mistakes.
Back at school, we have parent meetings and all that stuff once teams are picked, and my basketball coach is really good. And one of the things that he does is he has his parent-player meeting the first Saturday practice of the year. He invites all the parents to come. They watch the entire practice. The only practice he opens to the parents, and he talks to them and stuff like that. And so a couple years ago, I was at this AD conference, and I heard this AD, who's a former basketball coach, say he did the same thing. But what he did was the last 30 minutes of practice, he was running through situations. So it'd be like sideline out of bounds, down 2 with 30 seconds on the clock, blah, blah, blah. So before he would hand the ball to the player, he would look up into the stands at the parents and call the parent out by name and say, "Hey, Mike, what play should we run here?" And then he'd be like, no, I'm good. He'd be like, "Hey, Johnny, what play?" No, I'm good. So you don't know what play now, but once the season starts, you're going to be nitpicking what play we run.
That's good.
So he kind of proved a point, like, I'm the coach, you're the parent. And it's tough.
Well, I know no coach wants to lose.
Of course.
I
I can't tell you these meetings that we have. Listen, if I could give you a couple hours inside my office, I had a couple years ago, I had a parent meeting where the parents were upset that the kid was listed on third string and wasn't listed as second string. We're not even talking about starting. So we're like 10 minutes in this conversation. I'm like, are we really having a conversation about being second string instead of third string? And what I've learned as an AD is parents care about their kids, right? So I try to give them the opportunity to come in, say as crazy as the stuff that they'll say to me. And then I always will say that line. I said, "Do you think the coach is trying to lose?" I said, "I'm paying the coach to win."
No.
Right? We're paying them to do a lot of things. Part of it is winning.
Right.
They're not trying to lose. If your kid was better than that other kid, they would be playing.
Yeah, and it's some sports are judgmental. I mean, coaches got to make decisions. I got cut all the time. I shouldn't have been, but I got cut.
Hey, there's an instance, Rod Woodson. He never started it down in football until he was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
And then he goes to Purdue, and then
Biff
look
Crest
at
got cut from the ninth grade team in Meadville.
You know, yeah, NFL draft happened a couple months ago. You know, the Porter kid that gets Steelers drafted,
Yes.
his dad played for them.
Yeah, out of
The
Penn
great-
State.
And they'll probably talk about this story more. The greatest story in that, though, when the kid was young, he's playing little football, right? And his team gets to the championship game and they lose. And they're giving awards out to the first and second place team. So his team came in second. He got a nice trophy. He runs to his dad, Joey Porter, and he goes, Dad, I got this trophy. And Joey goes, "No, you don't." Took the trophy, got the kid by the hand, walked it back to the guy in charge and said, "We don't get second place trophies at my house." And his son said, "I'll never forget that. My dad did this to me because it made me work even harder." You know, that's,
Well, when I was at Seton, I'll take second place anytime I can get. I used to look up the scoreboard and go, we haven't scored yet.
And we almost forgot about that. You know, what's interesting about Seton though is how many, back then at that time, John, how many good basketball players.
Yeah,
they
we
sent to high
had,
school.
we had a crew that in 1984 they got to the Western Final. And Richie Seidel,
Yeah.
Bob Mudger, and Dave Zalasko all came out of Seton.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
their coach was Chuck Swick, I
Yeah.
believe. No, I'm sorry. Mike Heim was their coach.
Heim.
Mike Heim and his brother Hooper were their coaches.
Oh, Chuck Swick.
Chuck Swick coached
Chuck-
at Seton too. He had a crew down there with his son.
And I think he ran the girls for a few years too, didn't he? In Meadville, Chuck Swick coached the Meadville.
Yes, he did
girls?
coach girls. Yes, he
Yeah.
did coach.
Not a
girls
great
in
character
Meadville.
guy.
Yes.
I mean, he actually coached at Allegheny a little bit, I think, as an assistant coach.
Yeah. Well, I thought one of the best girls coaches my daughter played was Dean Henderson.
No question about
he,
that.
He had those girls. He was a really good coach.
Dino's a great coach everywhere. I think he was at Cambridge Springs for a while, the boys or something. He was a good coach.
Yes.
Venango Christian way back when.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
he was organized. The
Yep.
girls, my daughter used to come home and he'd give her paperwork of who she was going to guard and what they were doing, and everything was
Oh, sorry
phenomenal.
for that girl then. She
Yeah,
was
well-
guarding because she was one of the best defending girls guard that ever played for Meadville High School.
I taught
Talk
her
about
everything
great
she
athletes.
knows.
She was good.
Yeah,
She
all
was
right.
really good.
She's a good mother.
I think,
You know,
I
like
think she
about you-
hustled more than you too, John.
Yes.
You know what I liked about your daughter? She was one of these girls that hated to lose.
Oh boy,
And that's great about an athlete. If you hate to lose.
I taught her that early in Candyland.
Now, is she
Never
still
beat me
helping?
in
Yeah,
Candyland.
like she's still helping.
She's good. They got a new girls coach.
Because I heard Jason stepped down.
Jason stepped down. We got a new women's coach. She came from the Eastern Pennsylvania, and Emily talked to her, and she's real impressed with her. And Emily's going to run my daughter teaches in second district, the fourth grade. She's going to run the junior program for the kids. She's going to try to get a
Nice.
program in
That's good.
each school,
Each
first
school.
district, second district,
what-
East
Like
End,
Mark
West
did.
End.
Mark did that.
Well,
Yeah.
Coach
He
Price
came up.
did that too.
Yeah.
Again, Coach
And Mark McElhenney was always at
Is he
the
still coaching?
practices.
Yeah, Mark's done a wonderful job.
Mark still coaching the boys?
Yeah,
far as I know.
yeah, he's back. He's back again. He's got a good team this year.
They were young the last 2 years.
He's taken a lot of lickings from prep. He's getting ready to give him some back. I think he started 3 freshmen 2 years ago. Last year there was 3 sophomores. He started. He has a 6'7" freshman played last year. Hopefully he comes back and plays. So, and he has this Burchard and this other young man. Oh, I can't think of his name. God, I apologize. He's a really nice ball player. What's his name? God. He's a real good player. And then he got his Kenny Scott's grandson plays on the team.
Oh, nice.
So
How do you think the football team's going to do? I mean, I think they're going to fare well. I mean, they got.
we
Corey.
talked about that earlier today. And not to be critical, is last year some of the worst high school football that I saw.
You were telling me the talent levels
Wow.
down.
I mean, we played Franklin. We could have scored 100 points back in the day. Franklin was, man, they were.
They look small.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Connie under Pat Gould was a fierce team.
Yeah.
Pat
yeah.
Gould did a heck of a job with Connie when they merged
Yeah,
those 3
Connie Lake's
schools.
down.
But they got a local young man's coaching out of Conneaut Lake for
Good.
Cash now, and I think he's
Yeah.
trying to bring the program back. But Meadville should be okay. They're going to be young, but they lost a lot of good players from last year's team. But they'll be okay. They'll be okay. Coach Calls will have them ready.
Does Meadville still have a lot of community support?
COVID put a hurt to a lot of it. It really
It did.
did. I mean, basketball, the gym was not filled like it used to. We had a playoff game. You had to call the PIAA and get double secret probation to get in the damn game. Vaccine, all that stuff. Anyways,
Yeah, I just think everything going down,
Yeah.
especially after the COVID.
COVID
and that.
hurt it.
I mean, even some of the golf outings are down. Even
But
after
our,
Agent's down a little bit for their outing coming up because they were calling me all this
wow.
late.
Yeah, they usually have thousands of people now.
Yeah,
But
wait.
get back to high school. The football had good support the last year. Student
Good.
body came to the game. The band
Yes.
band has been really good. Meadville band. They're sitting beside the student body.
Nice.
They're playing.
I think they even came down the back and actually played as they walked
Yeah.
in one game, if I remember correctly.
Lucas Lutheran, that's the name of the other boy who plays on the
Okay.
basketball team. He's a real good. He's a fantastic basketball player.
Let me ask you, Ed, because you're a student, and you're a student in Meadville and a parent in Meadville, former athlete in Meadville. What is one great memory you have as a parent?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to be a little biased.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, there was 2. Actually, calling the game with you when my son was playing lacrosse when he was a sophomore.
Scored the winning goal.
Scored the winning goal with 4 seconds left, and I mean it was a distance too.
Yeah.
And then I screamed so loud you had to take off your headphones, and you were laughing. I thought you were going to be mad at me. And then the next one was a fourth overtime win up at McDowell to beat McDowell, which was great.
Yeah.
Because one of the guys was giving him a hard time. Where's your goal? Where's your goal? And when he shot it with there was probably only a minute left in the fourth overtime. So that's long. So those two, and I still have to go back to the year that the basketball team, a couple years ago when they went with Armani, and even in '86 with Slamming Dogs.
86, 87.
Yeah, 86, 87, and then even the football team with Journey that year when they finally got past the first round of the state playoffs. I mean,
John, let me ask you this: as a parent of athletes in your family that went through the Meadville School District, when was, like, you can say 1 or 2 or 3 moments when you got a little emotionally tough watching your kids?
Well, I remember my son Joe. We played Strong Vincent in football, and they just destroyed us. And we played him up at Wayne Middle School. There's no time on the clock, and he made 2 free throws to send the game in overtime. And we beat Strong Vincent, and they had a bunch of good athletes, and that was pretty exciting. My son Phil, when he played for Ed, 9th grade football, he caught 3 touchdown passes in a 9th grade game. I told my dad it was the last touchdown passes he'll ever catch for me.
we opened it up big time.
I mean,
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. And Emily, she was 16 for 16 from the free throw line against Deer East one time, and that was pretty exciting.
what about for both of you walking out with your kids' senior night?
Oh,
I didn't get to do that because of COVID ruined it for his senior year of lacrosse, and that really broke my heart. I'm still ticked off about it. I don't want to use the other word. I'm still ticked off about
You did it for your daughter for cheerleading?
Yep, and I did it for my oldest son, Dustin,
Yeah.
who passed away a couple years ago, which
Right.
was good because on his senior night, even though he was the center, they actually let him line up in the backfield and score a touchdown on senior night. So that meant a lot to me too. So
John, you had the pleasure of doing
Oh
that for your
yeah,
senior
it
daughter?
was all good. It was just
it's something you look forward to.
Parents that say they don't live vicariously in their children are liars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not for me personally. I mean, I wasn't a bad athlete, but I got cut from everything.
Right.
I mean, those are just the facts. And to watch your children,
So it's
my son was the captain of the Meadville basketball team, and my daughter was that was just great.
So it's fair to say that all the athletic ability from your kids
Came from my wife.
from your wife.
No.
All I say is to give these seniors anything they're playing, their last home game, and I still did to my son's head, but he didn't get to play his senior year because of COVID. But anytime you do it, and it's your last home game, stand in the middle of the court, middle of the ice, middle of the football field, and just take a look, because that's the last time you're going to see that.
That's a good
Actually
point.
soak it in, because that might be the last time you dress at all.
That's a very
That's
good
right,
point.
because most high school kids in Meadville aren't going to go on to college.
Correct.
People would come, where's your daughter going to go in college
Right,
and
right.
play? I go, she's 5'2". Who wants her? Where's your son going to? No,
Yeah.
he wasn't very fast. Either one of my sons.
Yeah.
Leg injuries,
I don't know.
ACLs
Phil
and
was,
stuff.
even with his leg injury, he was still pretty.
But
Phil
they had,
was tough.
but they had good
But-
high school careers.
But yeah, that's where it's going to end.
Right.
You got to be realistic. And there are kids obviously that go on to play Division 2 or 3 around here, but Division 1 athletes are few and far between from Meadville
Yeah.
High
I'll
School.
tell you the other thing.
Correct?
The other thing that always left a positive note for me, and you two were involved in this, I know you were heavily involved in it, was the booster clubs.
Yeah.
The
Well,
hours and the amount of hours they put in to raise money for these
But you
kids
know
is
who did
amazing.
and he mentioned her name earlier, who really works their butt off? Heather Clancy Young, when she was doing
oh yeah,
Is she still doing it?
She took over the baseball program.
And-
You
She
got out of
wanted
her
to
way.
hopefully combine all of them so they can split the money evenly.
that
so
would've been good.
It would. I think it would have worked, and she had a great plan, but nobody wanted to.
Well,
do it.
what you have though, people like football would say, well, we have more fans.
Yeah, I know.
Basketball has more fans, so why should I give the cross country team money that I raise when who's going to a cross country meet?
But it's easier than having somebody coming in to the business. Oh, I need this. I need this.
Oh,
I
yeah,
need
well,
this."
you-
but you could still have taken a percentage. Okay, football would have
Yeah.
got more. Then
Yeah.
basketball
Yeah,
would
it
have got
could've-
the
could've
same.
worked.
And then down. But it would. I think it's still
But I
would have
know
worked.
you spent a lot of hours.
Well, my theory when I was president of basketball boosters for over 10 years, even when my kids weren't
Right.
playing, and I used to when I went to Mark McElhaney, I go, I work for you, Mark. You're in charge of the basketball program, not me. You are. Norm Price, you're in charge. You tell me what you want, when you want it, how you want it. And my job was to raise money in the boosters, and we had some great booster clubs that we had. People like when we did the football stadium. I mean, the people rallied around it.
Yeah, that was good.
You know, helped get it. Al Cronin got the landscaping going, and his brother Steve, and just the people, Alan Pepicelli, and the people.
Yeah, Alan
volunteers.
Pepicelli, you had Charlie Anderson, I think, you had Jim Lascola was on that board.
Yes, there's
A lot of
that
guys.
stadium, because that stadium was a dump.
It was.
Vendor Field was
It
bad.
was. Now, at your school, Trev, you guys have booster clubs?
We do not at my school.
You used to have a lot of money.
So most of the schools do, especially the public schools.
Yeah.
They obviously have it, but the way my school is run is tuition based, zero budget. So the guy that I was hired by was a very intelligent businessman. He was at the school for 19 years, put him in a really good spot fiscally, and so the only money I get from the school is to cover my stipends for my coaches. So everything else that I do internally, and we do really
I
well.
know, like, for example, like Meadville baseball this year, and I think what the school provided them, I don't know, and I might be incorrect, just some baseballs and hats. I mean, Heather Clancy Young, she got them 3 different uniforms. She raised all the money, but they did it all on their own. I
Yeah.
mean, if it was up to the school, I don't think
See,
they had a
why
catcher's
isn't
glove.
it, I mean, it's a school program, but why isn't it associated? Because lacrosse is the same way as baseball. You gotta go out and buy your own stuff.
Yeah.
And baseball got expensive.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you can go
I mean,
through
think
a
about-
box of baseball is about $100 now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
$75 a dozen. Or,
Yeah.
So we have, we kind of have a budget, a projected budget, but the school's not giving me any of those dollars. So we do have a participation fee.
Okay.
So every single sport has a fee. Football's more.
I don't think we don't have that in Meadville. There's not a fee to play.
That's what I was at.
No.
Yeah. So our fee's $175, and that helps gets me some money.
Well, that gives you any, if you pay $175 once, if you played multiple sports, it's $175
Every
every
time.
sport.
Yeah. And so pretty much.
That would cost me a lot of money.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of families like that. Their kids are either multi-sport athletes or they have multiple kids that play at the same time. And it does get a little pricey, and we try to.
Do your private school give out scholarships to good athletes?
So in the state of Florida, no.
No.
There's no recruiting in the state of Florida. It's different than Pennsylvania. I wish we were allowed
Well,
to.
Cathedral Prep will say they don't recruit.
Yeah.
They'll say they don't.
I wish we were allowed to be honest, because most of the
kid from
public
Meadville
schools
end up there.
in our area
Exactly.
do recruit. So, and I'm not saying that people don't follow the rules, right? People don't follow the rules.
But I can understand why somebody would send their person to a Cathedral Prep or a Mercyhurst Prep. I mean, there's good education there. I
Right.
mean, there's a lot of value to it. I'm not to criticize it. It's just, I don't want to beat them. They beat us a lot.
Yeah.
We've never
Especially in
beaten them.
football in
We've
the
never
80s,
beat.
well.
We've never beat Prep in football.
No.
Well, there's some private schools like that go around and you see them on ESPN, like Chaminade,
Yeah.
American Heritage, and St. Thomas. Those aren't public schools.
No.
Right?
No.
And those kids ain't paying a lot of money
No.
to go there either. Right? I'm not exactly sure how they do, but
I think
know.
you'll find out at Mercyhurst it's probably over $10,000 a year to go to school there. And then parents make sacrifices to send their
You
kids
know,
to private
Yeah.
schools. They do.
You know, you talk about never beating prep in football, but the closest we got now was on the staff and Coach Achenbach. We had Rusty Feetner and those guys.
Yeah, we lost 9-0.
9, kid 3 field goals.
Yeah. Well, the one kid missed the
right?
field goal, and they brought in the second string
Yeah.
guy. He booted 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost 9-0. It was
Yeah.
colder than
It
heck
was
that
cold.
night.
It was, yes, it was like.
Then
10
McDowell, we played him at McDowell.
10 degrees that night. Yep. We played physically. We played.
I saw us
so,
beat Prep in JV football. Coach Pendolino, Coach Kidd, and Coach Bosser. They beat, I think Mike Carr was on the team, and Kyle Waite and those guys. They beat Prep in a 9th grade game. I think it was the only time we ever beat them. I think it was like 14-0, something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez, oh, man. I mean, there's a lot of history. I mean, especially with the good coaches and stuff like that.
And that's why,
Just
you know,
imagine.
we had that show we did, Ed, and I guess they still have, and that's why, even though I'm not part of Meadville anymore, I don't know who the athletic director is now.
I don't
They
know.
hired, they hired somebody. He didn't even know he had it until John Fry
But-
came in.
But whoever has it, if you guys could tell them, Meadville needs to have a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Meadville High School needs to have a Hall of Fame.
And they have
It's
one in
ridiculous.
Cambridge Springs.
Yeah.
Fort LaBeouf.
Yeah, a lot of
Maplewood.
And like, John, you know a lot of great athletes came through Meadville. It's a shame Meadville doesn't have one.
I don't know if it's a thing about cost, but there's people around the town that would, like I know Steve Keitlinger, running Marquette Bank, he'd get behind something like
Sure.
that in a minute. There's a lot of businessmen out there that would support
I'm
that.
sure some parents of kids that were worthy would probably help
Yeah.
out too.
And people would buy tickets,
And you have
even if it
somebody
was
like-
down at the ICC
And
to
you have
go
somebody,
in.
hey, And you have Professor Vic Kress, who still lives in Meadville.
Who shoots underhand still.
But still, he probably is an encyclopedia of great athletes.
Yeah.
Tony Pirro
Yes.
would know a lot of great athletes. Yourself, John, a lot of great athletes.
I mean, I could go back to the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching the
Former
game.
We have a Hall of Fame at our school.
Yeah.
And so the way we do it is we have a
With only 200 kids too.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
we've had some pretty good athletes come out of there.
Yes,
But we have like a committee of like 5 people, and we meet every year, right? We allow people to submit names, right? So there's a process, and then we pick the names, right? And they got to be out of school 5 years before they're eligible
Yes,
to get
it
in.
would be just like
And
that. Yeah.
it's really doesn't really cost that much. We have a plaque that we give them. We have one that goes up in the school,
When you have a
and then we
dinner.
do like a dinner.
Yeah.
Well,
And
maybe,
the dinner could
maybe
probably
it
pay.
is something
The dinner could pay for all of it.
something
Yeah.
we can talk about, Ed, because
Yeah, I'm gonna challenge John and Ed right now to push for that in Meadville. I think it'd be a great
I need
thing.
more things to do.
Well, you know.
This guy, he thinks he still controls the stuff.
No, but what I'm saying, I think you guys should do it. It'd be a great thing.
There's people like Steve
Not that
Keitlinger. Steve Keitlinger would be
Yeah.
a good one to talk to
Yeah,
about it because
exactly.
Kitey's been involved in Meadville sports.
Now, do you
forever.
think we need to get with the AD or we need to get with the superintendent?
I think if we get with the AD,
That would be the place to start.
yeah,
I
and the
would think.
superintendent is that gentleman that was there when I left.
Yeah, the guy lives in Pittsburgh that runs Meadville
Okay,
schools.
but I'm thinking
I
he
didn't
would
say
be,
that, did
but
I?
still, he would be behind it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You think about all the great out in all sports, ladies and men's sports, girls and boys
Oh yeah,
sports.
absolutely. Yeah.
And Marlene Growley's still around?
I don't know if she is or not.
She's
If
still-
she
I've
is, she'd be
seen
a
her.
great asset for
Yeah.
female sports.
You know who's still alive is Zane Nozikov.
There you go.
I don't know what his
I don't know.
capabilities
Yeah, I
would
don't
be,
know
but
either.
Zane he used to light the cigars up at the back in the.
Yeah.
You do that nowadays, they'll throw you in jail.
Used to remember the softball fields behind the high school
Yeah.
by Rat Lake?
They're not there
They're not there
No,
anymore.
the real softball field was at North Street.
That's when I first came here.
They had the
Bubbles
natural amphitheater. People would sit on the banks and watch
John,
the
the
games.
first
Fast
game
pitch.
I went to there to play was 1975, and Bubbles Burnett, who I didn't know who he was.
Put him out there in the 20-yard line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
He was a
Way
left-handed
over
hitter.
The locker room's way out. Yeah, the
And then
left-handed hitter.
there was Dick Astor, and he used to hit him up there on the Shady Brook Park Hill.
Then I remember Dick Astor and Kenny Scott playing at the new
Lincoln
softball.
Ave.
Dick Astor could hit a ball a mile.
You know, that's another sport people forget. We should do a show sometime is
You should.
softball in
There you
Meadville because it is a great
It's already
tradition.
maybe in the process.
Dick Astor
Mr.
still around?
Yeah, Dick. I'm on the rec complex board with Dick, and he's retired now, but he's involved.
It'd be great to have
We're trying to do something.
Okay.
You know, it's up to our
Get Jimmy. You
executive
want to
producer.
get Jimmy Hunter because he forgot more about softball.
I got
than
two
most
people.
around here.
You and maybe
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
you could have 3. You, Jimmy, Hunter, and Charlie Schaefer probably because
Yeah.
those two know a lot.
Remember
about
that Mr. Perotti got his thumb?
Tom Brody.
You
He
remember
worked.
him?
He worked for PennDOT. He sit behind it. And he argued with him. He said, "Get out." He was a nice man.
He was a great guy.
He's a nice man.
Hey,
And everybody back in the '80s played slow pitch softball.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what about the 18U volleyball team, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Went down to Orlando and won
Won the state
nationals.
won the national.
Is that
They
right?
placed second
Awesome.
last year.
Who coached him?
Ryan Patton,
It was a Ryan Patton.
I do believe so.
Our coach in Meadville, what's his name? His mom.
Yeah,
was out of
Shelley Bancroft's
Yeah,
son.
yeah. He's
Nick-
only
Nick.
lost Nick in 3 or 4 years. He's only lost 3
And I was
matches.
surprised they lost this
He
year.
lost
against
to
Mercyhurst
that
Prep.
Northeastern.
Yeah.
I think beat him
Well,
twice in the
think
state champ, whatever it was school.
Think
It's
of
not
the
whatever it was.
bloodlines he has in coaching.
Yeah.
Sheila's
Yeah.
unbelievable. We have done many shows with her. In
Yeah,
the
he's
past.
like something like 60-3.
How could
I was 3-60.
You guys should do a show about with him next year.
it
Volleyball.
might be in the process.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it right now.
Okay.
We're close
You
to
got a
it.
lot of things on there.
But no, I mean, how about Meadville owns Mercyhurst Prep, and then all of a sudden they lose against them, but then Meadville also beat Cochran. Cochran beats Mercyhurst Prep and goes,
Yeah.
You know.
Cochran had a good year.
yeah, they finished second.
You know, it's amazing to talk about sports. The hotbed of volleyball, boys and girls.
Ooh.
District 10, yeah. No question. Crawford County.
Oh.
Now it's expanded to
Yeah,
Erie. Now they don't
right.
play any in Mercer County other than Farrell has a team. That's the only team down in Mercer that has a volley, and they were state champions at one time. Farrell was back in the day.
I remember what who was it? Square Miller was saying, we got the only state title. And
Yeah,
that was
see?
back. That was for volleyball.
Brad Smith.
But now you can't say that anymore.
rest
So
Yeah.
Well, they should have a
still
banner
have the
for
first one though.
Yeah.
In
I'll
the
tell you
history
who
of
knows a
Meadville
lot about
sport.
volleyball locally would be George Schroeder.
Oh, George.
He knows all about volleyball.
Is he still roughing this year?
I don't know.
Of course.
God bless.
He'll ref when they push the coffin into the Meisners or Wade's, wherever they put.
Just
one more
kidding,
game. One more game I got to do. George, he's
That's almost like Jason Longo's uncle comes out here and golfs. Guy, he's 84 years
Costa?
old. Yeah, he's still right down the middle.
yeah.
He's still going too. So Schroeder's going to be doing it for a while. I think.
George, and he's a good referee. He does in Crawford County. You could yell him at Meadville games. He'd go in one ear
He's
out
been
the
doing
other.
what, 30 years, right?
He
A little
didn't
over
care,
30
did
years.
he? Oh, more than
At least
that.
30 years. He
More
was
than that.
refereeing games when you had the big team from Meadville in the 80s.
He was George.
That's when they had 2 officials.
Yes, and George was a good high school basketball player too. He played
Yes, he was.
in the early '60s.
Yep.
And volleyball was his sport.
Yeah.
I think he might have been on that state
He
championship
was.
team.
He
I
was on
believe.
that team. And you know who had great sports too? We just played golf with him yesterday. Daryl Jones.
Oh,
Him
yeah.
and Lynn.
Get Daryl. If
Yeah.
Daryl was on this show, we just
Yeah.
let Daryl do on the
Well,
top.
me and Gary did a show with Daryl, and we did one with him and Lynn.
Very
Jones.
knowledgeable.
And they still have their stuff in that Historical Society in County Lake display of Daryl Lynn's stuff. You guys should get them on. Again, that'd be a great show.
Daryl's. They're very interesting.
Oh.
But you already did one with him.
Yeah, but it's been a while. You know what you do? Do it from the museum with their display. Tell people about their display down there.
He's got all the answers.
See, why am I contacting you? I can just say, hey, Mike.
Call up
hey,
Mike.
Hey, Mike.
You make the show, make the arrangements. Mike,
COVID
take
kind of
care.
hurt us a little
Come
bit.
on, Mike,
So
take
it's
care
been
of
about
us.
a year hiatus. Can
You
you
love Meadville so
up?
much, but you left us, but you're still going to run the show.
Yeah, come down to Florida, you can do a show down there too.
Zoom, right? But hey, Mike, I appreciate you coming
No
back.
problem. Thanks for having me
Trevor,
back.
thank you.
John,
Thanks for
thank you.
having
And Mike, hopefully we can
Thanks.
do it again.
Yeah,
Maybe
good seeing you.
if we get on
You
something.
gonna shake
maybe
my hand, Ed?
we could hook
Down with
something up.
Mercier's prep, Ed.
Listen, I'm helping out, okay, helping with the line.
No, I hope they do
going
well.
Stats.
You'll do well up there. You're a good football coach. I'd like to
know.
give you a compliment, but I'll
I
have to
just,
say that.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just something I just don't want to coach at home. You know, that's just my personal, because there might be
That's
people
good.
that
You know
might
what?
hate you
Because-
after that.
because you're afraid-
I know
you're-
too many people with their kids.
You're
and I don't
afraid of
wanna-
losing. When I managed, I was just concentrated on winning.
No, it's just more. Hey, it's just more. Sometimes maybe you just don't want to lose a friend too because of their kid. They might get mad.
Ed,
Just too much
Ed,
drama here.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Sports Close Up on Armstrong, the Neighborhood Channel. For Ed Marin, Mike Fiorillo, John Matillo, and Trevor. Have a good day.